Hey guys, it's Dalton with DT's Cool Cards. Welcome to the mobile office. If this is your first time joining the channel, we are on our way to making a $1 million Pokemon business. Today, also my next video, I'm going to have ChatGPT write me a whole script of what I should say in my intro, because I need to add a little bit more things into my intro. Today, I was going to make a different video. I was going to make a video about should you start a Pokemon business in 6. However, my wife has some fun activities planned for the day, so I'm not going to have a lot of time to get home and chop up a video. So I'm going to do one while I'm waiting on someone to meet me for a wholesale buy, which you guys know how much I love those. So again, a different, maybe tomorrow or something like that, I'm going to make a video about should you start a Pokemon business. But let's say in your mind you said, I want to start a Pokemon business, but the one word or the one type of word comes up, and it's you are scared, you are nervous, you don't know it's going to work. Now, if you want to start a Pokemon business in 2026, the first thing that I can tell you is number one, you have to set extremely realistic expectations. The Pokemon landscape is different. Even when I started about 2.5 years ago ish. It was a lot easier to get started than it is now. And now it's a lot more difficult, and it's difficult because there's more competition. Whether you want to start a business or not, if you want to even dip your toe into it, if you're wanting to start a new business or set a new challenge or set a goal for yourself, the one thing that's stopping you is the word fear and any kind of derivative of that. I don't know if derivative is the right word, but whatever you want to call it, right? And what I want to tell you is fear is real. You know, I even said it the other day, no fear. You can't have not have fear, right? Everyone is scared at some point in time in their lives, even when you're watching these, badass World War II movies or, you know, um, old school MCU movies where Captain America is about to fight Thanos. Bruh. All right, we had a little stoppage there because my wife called me. But anyway, fear is real, right? But I do believe that you can define fear, and fear is false expectations of proving real. And I will tell you, at every step of the game, you're going to feel fear, right? You're going to feel fear about doing your first big deal. You're going to have fear about the first time a credit card bill is due. You're going to have fear the first time you send out, a $500 order. You're going to have fear the first time you see a message from a customer saying, I haven't got my card yet. That's just part of the game. And I am a big believer in running to fear and running into uncomfortable zones and uncomfortable areas because, one, first and foremost, it's how you're going to grow, right? I was scared to death, and this is going to sound real dumb. I haven't worked at Cane's in like 3 years, more than 3 years, right? When I started doing these videos, my wife still works at Cane's. When I first started doing these videos, I was scared to death that someone at Cane's was going to see this, laugh at me, and make a joke behind my wife's back. Now they might be doing that, right? But on the same accord, number one, who cares, right? And then number two, if I live in someone's head like that, they got problems, right? If someone's gonna laugh at some kind of video I do or something like that, I mean, that's wild that I live in their head rent free. Now, how do you overcome that fear? And I think is the next part. And I mentioned it on a previous video. You just have to do it. I'm not super successful, but every time I have gone into a scary situation, it has always come out to the better. The first time I got a chance to move with Raising Cane's, it led me to becoming a managing partner, which it's a six-figure paying position at Cane's. And now, granted, and this is also like 15-ish or like 10, 12, well, like 15 years ago, where six figures is a lot more than it is today, which is a shame, but whatever. And so I got my six-figure job, but after that, some things in my personal life started to unravel, and I went through a pretty tough time. After that, I was given the opportunity to move again with the Raising Cane's, and I did. And initially, it was great for my career. After that, I made some pretty bad decisions, and it helped to tank my career. However, that's where I met my spouse. So I met my spouse out there, and we made the decision to get married. And then I moved here to Dallas. I was scared, new area, still working at Canes, new area, all that kind of stuff. And again, I made some pretty bad decisions in my career. To put things in perspective, at one point in time in my career, I was the apex predator. Number two operator 2 years in a row. Don't get me into that subject, but 2 years in a row. I mean, I was at one point in time, it was like Ron Burgundy. You know, I'm a pretty big deal, right? But when I moved for the second, third time, whatever it was, again, I made some really bad mistakes, and it didn't cost me my job, but it kind of cost me my job, right? But two things happened. It led me to this point in my life where I can say that I feel like I belong again. I feel like I belong to the Pokemon community. And now I keep on checking to see if my mic died. But I feel like I belong in the Pokemon community. I'm building something. I know it's the same way with women, but obviously I'm a guy. I feel like with guys, we have some kind of calling in the back of our to I don't want to say conquer because that doesn't sound right, but it's just like an Interstellar at the very end where he talks about going on the final frontier, not Star Trek, but that's what he talks about at the end of the movie Interstellar if you haven't seen it. And as a man, like you want to conquer things, not land or anything like that, but you want to conquer and you want to build. You want to be considered great, not in like I guess in a small narcissistic way, but not in like a bad way. I think I'm better than you, but like you kind of want to be a big deal. And then the other thing it led me to is my beautiful baby, my little baby girl. And one thing I would say as well that I've just been so lucky with is I always meet these larger than life people. When the first guy that hired me in Shreveport, Bossier, Louisiana, he's working at Kane, and then he gets another restaurant. He becomes an MP, and then we're sitting down at like a celebratory dinner one day, and he's like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go for my master's. And it's like, bro, what? My friend LJ that I mentioned the other day, I hired him, and his career outpaced mine, and now he's an area leader, which is a position I always wanted, and he has his own business. He's a larger than life character. And the other thing I was is my wife. My wife is a Latina baddie, and she has a larger than life personality. And what I want to tell you guys is this: I think it's like the British SAS or whatever, right? Their saying is "Who dares wins," right? When I was trying to rizz up my wife, LJ, he actually introduced us low key, but LJ was saying, "Hey man, you miss every shot you don't take," right? And for me, I've always lived my life by who dares wins. The more risk you take, the more reward you're going to get. And let me tell you, you're going to crash and burn. I've had some very not fun experiences in my life. I've had the lowest of lows. Even as recent as when I left Raising Cane's, I went through honestly about a 2 year hardcore depression. I had trouble getting out of bed in the morning. I was tired all the time. I was motivated, or I wasn't motivated. I had some pretty rough thoughts, and I was just in a very bad spot. It was just a high level of depression. And this business and my beautiful little girl helped me get out of that. Also, with the support and the help of my friends and family, I was able to get out of that and start, really get on this journey of having a Pokemon business. So I think that's what I would leave you guys with today is acting in spite of that fear. My brother, he was a Marine, a machine gunner. He went to Iraq, I think in 2008, something like that. I don't remember, but it wasn't, well, I guess it was, I don't remember exactly when he went to Iraq. It couldn't have been 2008. It had been before that, but he went maybe like a year or so after 9/11. And I was watching Saving Private Ryan the other day, and I messaged him, and I was like, dude, can you just imagine storming D-Day and the beaches of Normandy, and just what the hell is going through these guys' minds? And my brother messaged me or texted me back. He's like, dude, to the lead up, whatever you're doing, he goes, the fear is palpable. Like you can taste it, you can feel it, but once you get into it and you get to where you're going, and the battle starts or whatever. And I'm not in any way, form, fashion selling Pokemon cards is not going to World War II or going to Operation Freedom in Iraq or whatever, but once you got into it, the fear goes away and you start doing your job. And that's the same thing with this. You just start doing your job. I crashed and burned on the seal that I got the other day. But some dude messaged me again just now and said he'd do 80% on some seals. So you know what? Flip, flopping, flooper. I'm going to get back at it and see if I can get seal to work. So that's my point to you guys, is you have to move forward. Now, and another thing I would say with that is, again, I'm going to make a video in the future about should I start a Pokemon business. My wife and I, when we were just talking or just friends or whatever, she would say, hey, how do you do this? Or how did you get this done? And I would always go into soft skills, right? Which a soft skill is like motivation, communication, because that's what I've always been good at, is inspiring the troops. And she would always be like, no, I need tactical things. I need a hard skill. I need something I can put my finger on and say, hey, do X, Y, Z, A, B, C. And when it comes to building a business, when it comes to challenging, to sallying forth, when it comes to, you know, digging into those trenches, you just got to F and do it. And it's an F and dog fight. But the stuff that's badass is when you're on the other side of it and you're like, Jesus, I accomplished A, B, C, EDFG, whatever. I got ones like, and God gives everyone different skills. This is literally the last thing I'll say. God gives everyone different skills. And one of the skills that he gave me was just the ability to move forward and to work hard, because I'm not the smartest guy, my guys here. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I can work hard. DT's Kool Cards. I'll talk to you guys later.